To win a title, you need many things going your way. Ideally, you want to be the best team, but you can get by with being up there and needing a bit of fortune and other things. But for Arsenal, they're very, very close, really close. And it must really annoy Arsenal fans how close they are. They always seem to have one that's just that little bit better than them. But on the other hand, you're 2-0 up at home. You shouldn't be dropping 2 points in that game. So what about Villa's goals? The way they came about, who was maybe at fault? Or do we look at it and go, that was just really well taken goals because it was 2 goals in 8 minutes and Villa got back on level terms?
Just like Maatsen fell asleep, it was Merino that fell asleep on that play. This is where, the nice part about Arsenal stops, because you're absolutely right. This is 2 points dropped, which in the end, my gut feeling is going to cost Arsenal, and Liverpool are going to win the title. And being close is great. The progress that we talk about, it's fine, but let's face it. This was supposed to be a title race against this juggernaut that Manchester City are. The Arsenal came close, and knowing now for a long, long time that Manchester City aren't in a conversation, this was supposed to be, at the very least, and should have been Arsenal's year. In come Liverpool without any transfers for the most part, legendary coach leaving, a new manager coming in, and most likely they're going to lose it. And that's the bottom line. And so it's unacceptable at home to dominate Villa so much. The start to the game was perfect because Arsenal set themselves up very, very well in this game. They got themselves a reward early enough with the goal, followed up with the second, and that should have been it. And we should have been talking about the conversation about Arsenal playing great after a tough week. North London derby, Manchester United, and that would have been what you call an easy win against a very good Villa team. So this is going to cost them, and there are no excuses whatsoever when it comes to the final result.
In a way, could you argue that the last 3 or 4 minutes of normal time and then the 7 minutes of added time and the dominance Arsenal had in that is a bit of a microcosm of how close they have been to getting over that line but not quite doing it? So you've got the Mikel Merino shot that took a deflection. It hit the arm of Kai Havertz because he's the last attacker to hit the ball. It gets disallowed. It has to. Leandro Trossard right across goal. Mikel Arteta thinks, that's close, but it just goes wide. There was so many near things right at the end. And Arsenal have done enough in the last 2 or 3 years to never be written off, because we've seen them as they found a way, because that's what really good teams did. But they didn't find a way today. And that's kind of been a microcosm of life at the top under Mikel Arteta, hasn't it? So near, but yet so far.
Yeah, that's why I, even though I've said it, that it most likely is going to call Arsenal, because even before this game, right? We had, at the end of the day, Arsenal, with what we know right now, they're going to pretty much run the table. But I refuse to rule them out because that mentality is there. It's a difficult schedule, as we've seen, the cup games and the opposition that they play, the injuries that they have. Everybody deals with that, but it's not easy to play to that sort of level, to get themselves up a couple of days after North London derby, to play against an excellent Aston Villa team at that level. And to me, that means something. This is not an Arsenal team that looked second best in that game. I guess we would have had a different conversation. So there's no quit in this team. I didn't see it today. They absolutely knew that they needed. They were pushing until the end. That's obvious. They had to, but they did it with quality. They didn't do it with panic, right? They didn't do it just throwing people up there. Their philosophy continue. That white game, Trossard again, very, very good. So I'm going to stop short of saying this is it. It's easy to say that. There's certainly mountain to climb. No questions about that. But I'm not writing them off just yet. They will be in that fight until the end, and most likely will come up short.
Look, we're just over the halfway point in the season. We've had plenty of twists and turns. Just today, Bournemouth winning at Newcastle by 4-1, and Liverpool scoring late. There's no way you're writing anybody off. We might be at the stage now, though, where there's more likelihood of Liverpool having to come back to the chasing pack than the chasing pack catching Liverpool. Is that fair?
Yes, but we saw today. I mean, this is not Liverpool at their absolute best that we've seen in years past, and we understand that. But Liverpool came, 2 late goals from Darwin Núñez. They dominated the opposition as well, but we've seen some softness on their part, and they have some issues. They're going to have to deal with a lot of competitions as well, rotation, and yes, just as I said today, that for me, at least in my opinion, Liverpool has to concentrate on the league and nothing else. Same goes for Arsenal, even more so, because I don't think that Arsenal are capable of winning the Champions League. I think Liverpool may have a better shout at that. The other cups, I don't really, in terms of Liverpool, I don't want to say they're meaningless, but the FA Cup or the League Cup, I don't think are high on their priority list. For Arsenal, maybe more so, right? Because I mean, they're going to have to win something. One FA Cup in all that run with Arteta doesn't seem enough.
It's only fair to end this by talking about Villa, because we've spoken a lot about Arsenal, understandably so. They're title contenders. But it's like anything. You and I have spoken. There's always two sides to everything, and there's always the headline, there's always the narrative. But in this case, there's the side that, whether or not they deserved something from the game, they came back from 2-0 down against a very good side who were playing very well. What does that tell us about Aston Villa and what Unai Emery has generated during his time there that they never know if they're beaten?
Well, you just feel that I think that Unai Emery is maybe at that stage that Arsenal were 3-4 years ago when Mikel Arteta finished eighth twice, right? Starting to build that. I think we see, obviously, we all remember, what was it, 17th place when he took over not that long ago. I think this team is building their squad. The ownership is stable, one that's willing to spend money. Even today, when we talk about injuries to Arsenal, I look at here, John McGinn, Pau Torres, Diego Carlos, Ross Barkley, who's been very good this season. So those are significant losses for them as well. They can play against anybody. They're not afraid to play against anybody. They're not pragmatic. They go after the opponents as well, and they don't know how to quit, as they've shown here as well. So this is a team that I suppose next season, maybe there's going to be a little bit more pressure, but their number one goal is still to make it to the top four. As you've mentioned often, that likely England will have 5, but let's stick with the top 4. That's where they need to be and continue to build with Unai Emery. And, it looks good so far.
Yeah, they're only 2 points behind Newcastle. And when we talk about progress, and look, one of the reasons why we're not writing Arsenal off, because anything can happen. I'm going to take you back just as we wrap this up to June 2020. I think it was the first game back after COVID. It was Aston Villa against Sheffield United, and both sides were really struggling. And at that stage, Villa were just hoping to stay in the Premier League. It had been a kind of tough spell. Look at where they were, and look at where they are now. And look at where Arsenal were, and look at where they are now. Mikel Arteta has never finished any lower the following season than he did the previous season. It's either been the same or it's been better. Now it's going to be tough to maintain second and to try and get to first. But it just shows you it's a long game, isn't it? In a world where we all lack patience, sometimes you need a little bit of that as far as Arsenal and Villa are concerned. But today, Villa get a point when they were 2-0 down. Arsenal huffed and puffed towards the end of the game, but they could not blow that Birmingham house down as Villa go back to the north with 1 point. Bye for now.